So this is my winter 2016-2017 forecast. Part 2, it's very preliminary. Actually, no, this is my winter thoughts. So this is the Farmer's Almanac's forecast for this winter. It is saying last winter they were saying the same thing. Cold and snow-filled for this region, and the jet stream dipping south. They put all their reliance on the models, and this winter the models are showing this. So I kind of agree with this region right here, but this region will be very, very snowy right here. This region will be well above average in snowfall. Now, I disagree with this region being chilled to the bone and wet. From this region up to here, balmy and wet. I think this will just be warm and dry for this region. Meanwhile, I think this region is all correct right here. Except for I would just change this to well above average snowfall and still keep the numbing cold. Now, I completely agree with this, and my reasoning is people are putting too much reliance in the models. As you can remember, last winter they were predicting a very cold and very snowy winter. Turns out they were 100% incorrect. We only had one major snowstorm, that was Jonas, the blizzard of 2016, which we are still due for a big one. That wasn't a very big one at all. That wasn't even able to be considered as a blizzard for many areas, just a major snowstorm. I think we are still due for a blizzard, like blizzards that you had back in the old days of winter, maybe back from the 19th century to the 20th century. That's when you had all the major winters with large snowstorms. I think we'll at least have one historic blizzard this winter that would actually be able to be classified as a historic blizzard. Not none of this overreacting stuff that with Jonas was just an overreaction. Now, the models are showing jet streams going way north of the United States, while last year they were showing the jet stream dipping down south and then up the coast. That was wrong, so I'm putting zero reliance into the models this winter. Because every time they predict cold and snowy, it turns out to be warm and dry. And every time they predict warm and dry, it turns out to be cold and snowy. So, well, not every time, but I'm just taking 2015 and 2016 as a good example of why I'm not using any trust in the models, and I'm just going with my gut on this. So I also think this region right here should be ice cold and snow filled, like from here and up here, just this entire region, including this region right here, ice cold and snow filled. Now, also, this region, I don't think it will be mild. It might be slightly cooler than average, but very, very stormy. I'm predicting a very active very active Pacific jet stream, which will merge with the polar jet stream. Polar jet stream that dips down south and then up the coast. And due to Greenland blocking, the jet stream would be doing this, forming a cutoff low, meaning lots of time for the storm to intensify, throwing loads of moisture inland. So, with the tripole I'm predicting that will be forming, you won't have to worry about mixing issues because it's just cold waters off the coast. Right now it's very warm off the coast though, and you have cooler like right in this region. This cooler water is starting to gravitate southward, and then southwest. So I would put this entire region in ice cold and snow filled, while this region right here would be warm and dry, and this region would be penetrating cold and very wet. Now that is what I'm predicting for this winter. As a matter of fact, I do have time to show you the Old Farmer's Almanac. Now this is the perfect example of what happens when you place too much trust in a model. So, mild and snowy for this region. Like, mild and snowy. And then you have mild and dry for this entire region. So basically what they're saying is the polar jet stream would be doing something like this. And up there with cold and wet. I strongly disagree with this. I'm agreeing with the Farmer's Almanac instead of the Old Farmer's Almanac. Now, just because I said I agree with it doesn't necessarily mean you have to, but with this being cold and dry, I don't really get that at all. I believe the Pacific jet stream will be coming in over Washington State and then dipping down south like this and then up due to Greenland blocking, forming cutoff lows. Also, the polar jet will be merging with the Pacific jet stream. Now, some of the storms may just start out as pure energy, not visible with moisture until they hit the Gulf of Mexico, where they will be exploding with moisture and then moving up and then exiting off the benchmark, which is when the Northeast gets their biggest storms. This region, this mild and dry with mild and snowy, this does not make sense. If anything, since I think the polar jet stream will be dipping down south like this, I'm just thinking that this entire region right here will be ice cold and snow filled, including Montana. Don't forget about Montana. With the Appalachians and the north and west suburbs of Philadelphia being the bullseye this winter for snowfall. Now, almost all of the models I've been seeing are predicting a very mild and dry winter for this entire region, which I don't understand why they're saying that, because you have a positive PDO, a negative NAO that has been trending negative for the past month or two, that has maintained its negative state, and you're beginning to see a tripole take place. Now, a tripole does not only indicate no mixing problems for this region, but it also indicates a very, very negative NAO and a negative AO. Like in 2009 and 2010, you had the most negative NAO and negative AO that you have seen since, I believe it was 1950. And that was all because you had a tripole, also very low sunspot activity. But since the PDO was negative, that didn't make the polar jet stream dip all the way down south. It only made it take this way, just like this, giving cold and very snowy for this region, and cold and slightly snowy for this region. This winter, I think it will be different, with the polar jet stream dipping all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, and Greenland blocking was a major factor, and is a major factor this year. If you have a Greenland block, then you will have essentially locked down snowstorms during intense moisture and intense moisture bands into the east. With a tripole, you won't have to worry about mixing, and a negative NAO and negative AO will continuously be filtering the cold in. Now, with a low pressure over high pressure over Greenland, you can just picture this high pressure system right here, where I just put it as Greenland. You have a flow around the high pressure doing this, just like, oh my goodness, going this, oh my gosh. But, so, I was told that I might be overshooting, that I was overshooting the snowfall for the East Coast. Do I think I am? I kind of do, but I'd rather overshoot the snowfall than undershoot. Because if I undershoot, then that would just be a disaster. But it's the same with overshooting. So now I'm going to focus on mainly the eastern United States. This map really isn't making any sense to me at all. You have mild and dry for this region. You have mild and snowy for this entire region right here. And then you have cold and wet up here. And then you have mild and dry just here. So, if you have a storm that's bringing snow for this region, it is bound to put moisture in this region too. Instead of it just fizzling out over, no, whatever. I'm not going to say any more about that. But now I will take you to the map I 100% agree with. Well, almost 100%. Now, I would place some changes on this, as I already showed you, but oh man, this winter now many people have been saying this every year. We may have a winter like 2009, 2010 with very cold and very snowy conditions for the East Coast. People say that every year. People even said that about 2015 and 2016. And I was gullible enough to fall for that. But this year, I'm thinking that the Gulf of Mexico will have very well above average not snowfall, no. Well above average sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, which would promote loads of moisture buildup in the Gulf of Mexico that would ride up the East Coast. Now, people are just thinking that this entire region will be cold, not cold, very warm and dry. And also then this region will have mixing issues. Now, I know why they're saying mixing issues, but I don't. Yeah, because they don't think a tripole will form in the mid-Atlantic. In the central Atlantic. And if it doesn't form, then you will have to keep this area in mixing, because that would be you will have deep low pressures this winter that will be throwing in warm air, causing mixing and plain rain events. Now, this region right here, ice cold and snow filled. This entire region is ice cold and snow filled, with this region being slightly below average temperature wise and well above average precipitation wise, with a very active Pacific jet stream. Now, do I think that this entire region will be very warm and dry? No. But here's where I think it will be warm and dry. This region right here. Because you don't have the El Nino enhanced subtropical jet stream, which is dipping down south and up the coast. You don't have that. All you have is the Pacific jet stream that is dipping down into the Gulf of Mexico up the East Coast with the polar jet stream. Now, when you have two jet streams merging with the polar jet stream and the Pacific jet stream, you will have low pressure systems that have bombogenesis take place, and will essentially give the East Coast a very large snowfall season. Also, you have the Great Lakes. They will be an extremely above average snowfall this winter with a neutral ENSO year or a very weak La Nina. Those are the only two possibilities. Now, at the beginning of July, it looked like you might have a small chance of a strong La Nina, but that chance is just gone now. So, even with a weak La Nina, you would still have cold shots over the very warm temperatures of the Great Lake water, forming loads of precipitation. Now, so for the eastern United States, I'm just saying this should go all the way up to here, and then like this, just like, yeah, ice cold and snow filled, just like 2009, 2010. And the reason why I'm saying very cold, with a positive PDO, negative NAO, negative AO, and low sunspot activity, which weakens the polar vortex, allowing colder air to sink southward. Along with that sinking southward polar jet stream, you can be expecting very cold temperatures and snow-filled weather Goodbye. I will be posting another video